when I think about mental health specifically, and it does feel like increasingly the stats are getting worse, male suicides are up, suicidal ideation's up, young women are increasingly identifying either and ending up on antidepressants, or so the mental health problem is real. But when I think about what the inverse of that is, and it's resilience. And we are not the first generation to have setbacks and have difficulties. And I'm very aware that if I was my father's generation, I'd be in the jungle in Vietnam. If I was my grandfather's, I'd be probably fighting in Tobruk. And if I was my great-grandfather's, I'd probably be in Gallipoli somewhere. And then if you go back further than that, pre-industrial England, it wasn't much fun. You think the Great Depression, and there's all these swings and roundabouts of enormous misfortune. And this is one of my biggest frustrations with the kind of white privilege rhetoric, is that privilege doesn't protect you from like family tragedy. Privilege doesn't protect you from death. It doesn't protect you from loss or family breakdown.
Thank you for that.
Wow.
That's a really important point. It's a terrible thing to cast judgment on somebody else's privilege just because of the way they look, or even if they happen to have a bob in the bank. You don't know what they've been through. Yeah. The human walk. Yeah. Never, the old Irish saying, don't judge a man until you've walked a mile in their shoes. We are a very judgmental society, but that's a diversion.
No. But John, I think this is a really important point, because it's not that the hardship that we're facing is unique. It's unique for our generation. We're not the first ones to face this hardship, but there is something about our resilience and our ability to cope with it. And a bit controversial, but just to throw a couple of ideas on the table, I think we're the first generation, and those below us who are really seeing societal-wide family breakdown. And if you look at the increase in divorce rates, and I'm a big advocate of Erica Commissar's work on particularly those early years, those first 5 years, in giving children at the time when they really need a confident attachment, that love, nurturing, and attention. So we're the first generation that is seeing those support networks shatter in the household. Then there's, and again, another controversial one, but having mums in the home. And we're the first generation, and again, those below us, who the norm is that we were raised by institutional care rather than a primary attachment figure. And again, in those first 5 years especially. I mean, my friends that do have kids, and I don't begrudge them for it. Again, it's the economic pressures putting them in this situation. But it's 6 months old. The kids are going to daycare while the mum goes back to work. Well, I've got a 4-month-old at the moment. And the idea of him not having his mum there when they are so vulnerable, when their entire world and universe is the love and attention that you give them, how could that not have an impact on us as we get older? And then the third one, it does feel like this is flipping, at least definitely in Britain, but it's the faith question. And it's I have a belief system, a belief structure that gives purpose and meaning to my suffering and gives me hope for something that happens on the other end. And for example, when I lost my mum, that was like one of those really telling moments when I was like, oh, do I say that I believe in heaven and the afterlife, or do I actually believe it? And it was when mum passed, it was like, oh, no, I know that mum is with Christ. And I found that actually quite an emotional moment, to think that she's run her race. And I think for a lot of people, not having that, or only having quite a superficial or a nominal belief system, or to be replacing these transcendent, hopeful faiths with the religion of climate change, that is a very nihilistic, despairing place to be. So when the slings and arrows of misfortune come your way, how do you have the capability to wrap that in a narrative that gives purpose to your suffering?